Final topic of the day, brought to you by the Kinda Funny forums. As always, if you have a question for the show, you can go to kindafunny.com/topic. Leave your topic. Please make it brief, and we'll get to it on the show.
You get a lot of Zygers in there writing their novels.
Zyger's fine. It's other motherfuckers.
15 years ago, Grandma Zyger said.
This topic's also brought to you by Patreon. Thank you all for making things happen for us. There's your thank you crawl, is what we call it. Kevin's going to put it. Really?
The names go up.
But the thing does slide in from the side and then start going up.
Yep, he kept going.
Shut up, Kevin.
I was petting it, Kevin.
I'm clapping, but it sounds kind of like I'm masturbating. Like if you're like the mic's far away. No, it's just like
It's too fast. Damn, you waited longer than I thought you were going to, and I liked that. All right, first question of the day comes from George Ash. He says, hey guys, what were some of the most difficult industry secrets you've had to hold on to until an NDA was up? Thanks for years of podcast entertainment. This is an interesting question.
Well, the question's weird, though. It's an interesting question, yes. But the most difficult is like we're excited about them? Because I've never had a difficult time in like holding on to information. I'm excited to unleash information.
I assume that's what he's asking.
Okay.
I mean, I read this as, what's the thing that when you heard, you're like, fuck, I can't wait for people to know this.
I will say that, I mean, the way he poses the question, I think Greg would agree, is that he's like, well, until the NDA was up. I've signed very few NDAs compared to the amount of secrets I know. So it's like that I've known and know to this day. For every NDA I've signed, I know 20 things that I'd never signed anything for because they're coming from, they're coming from
Friend DA.
They're coming from sources and they're coming from people you trust.
Sure.
I don't know that I want to get into specifics, but I will say that there's a great deal of shit that you know about if you're well connected in this industry before it happens. Well, a good example is the God of War stuff that happened recently. Like I've known about that Norse stuff for a couple of years, and Greg has too, and we heard rumblings about that forever. But it's until you could substantiate it. See, I never published. I used to publish a lot of breaking stuff at IGN based on sources if the sources were comfortable being anonymous but going on the record. And when you hear things, you have to I want to have multiple sources. I've never published anything without getting it from multiple sources that were comfortable with me using them as an anonymous source, if that makes any sense. So people will be like, well, they're obviously going to stay anonymous, but they also don't want you to use that as they're not a source. So that's not like checking one of the boxes. I have one source. It's like, well, you hear this and then maybe you can go chase a story, whatever. So the Norse stuff with God of War is a good example. We heard that from multiple people over time, and I believe that's 100% true because of the people that told us that. But to me, it's more like the more connected you are, and the more you kind of keep your ear to the ground and just listen. And people trust you, and you keep their secrets and all that kind of stuff, and you learn more and more and more. And before you know it, you kind of know a lot. But I don't find it difficult to not tell anyone those things. It's fine. I'm so curious about the industry. I would love to tell you guys everything, but I mean, that's just not the way it works in any industry. So, I keep secrets and Greg keeps secrets, and but there's a lot of games that we've known about, or a lot of instances and behind the scenes drama and games that you think, no, are going to be announced at this time, or games that are getting canceled for this or whatever. I mean, without getting into too many specifics, I would say that. I don't know if Greg has anything to add.
No, that's good.
Cool. Luke at me.
That's a good name.
Yeah, it is. Luke has 2 years though, so not full credit for a
Look
great
at
name.
me.
Hey guys.
Look at me.
My question pertains to the video game industry as a whole. I've lived in Michigan my whole life, so the large conventions and most of the video game industry presence as a whole is absent from the area, even though I think the industry could strive here. I was wondering what areas of the country you think we could see the industry grow in the future. I myself has always been interested in doing something video games related, but have never had the chance because of my location.
Places with no income tax. So I think, so that's why you find studios in Texas and in Washington, because you get an automatic raise moving there. You get a raise subtracting the percentage of state income tax you pay, and it's cheaper to run businesses there. I think New York is eventually going to thrive again. There's Rockstar is a huge developer in New York, but taxes are very onerous there usually, but they have a lot of new small business and like zeroing out tax rules basically in New York now to attract people back there, especially to upstate New York. So I think you'll see companies kind of thriving there as well. And then, I think that honestly, I think the revolution is kind of happening, as I've said before, in Eastern Europe, because of lax tax regulations and because of it's just cheaper cost of living. So you see a lot of great studios coming out of now Poland and Ukraine and places like that. So Michigan, I don't know. I mean, because you have to remember, Michigan's actually a beautiful state. and there's a lot of money and talent there for sure. But the idea is to open a studio in a place where people want to move. Like, you have to be able to attract talent from other places. So Insomniac in North Carolina, as far as I understand, one of the reasons that they put it there was because they needed to attract talent from the East Coast that didn't want to necessarily relocate to California. And it was a smart move for them to put it there because they were able to say, like, well, this guy's from Georgia, but he doesn't really want to come to California, but he does want to work for Insomniac, so he's more comfortable coming to North Carolina. And so it's just easier. Are you gonna be able to attract people wanting to go to Lansing or to Ann Arbor or something? I don't think so.
No.
I mean, I think that's one of the things, and that's no offense to Michigan. It's just that it's easy to say, like, we're in Seattle or we're in New York City or we're in Austin, as opposed to being like, well, we're in Cheyenne, Wyoming or something, and you can certainly run a very cheap studio there, but you're gonna be able to get anyone to go there.
Look at
You have to
schools
think-
with
you have to
good
think about those
programs
things.
too. You know what I mean? Good video game development programs or computer science programs, because those would be the ones, if that school's up and coming, you're gonna have a lot of grads coming out of it who'd want to be starting something cool and simple. And if that's the case, you can find those schools. You can kind of identify where there could be a thriving indie culture. Go from there.
Yeah, I think individually, it's like, if you really want to be part of the industry, like, you need to go to it. Don't wait for it to come to you. And I think that's good advice for anything, really. It's like, there's so much options to make things happen, and it's way easier for you to change your life than for hundreds of other people that change their lives.
Sure.
Next question comes from NWO Hollywood. It seems to me that you guys, the coolest dudes in video games, have a strong dislike for Sonic the Hedgehog. I'd like to know why, especially from Greg, since he grew up a Sega kid. Also, given this year marks Sonic's 25th anniversary, do you think Sega will release a new game? Will the series ever regain the popularity it once had? I hope against hope that happens. Much love from the city of brotherly love.
You got a lot of problems, man. NWO Hollywood there. Yeah, no, it'll never get as popular as it once was. That's come and gone. Yeah, I grew up a Sega kid. I grew up thinking Sonic the Hedgehog was boss. Loved him. Had a great time with him. And then, yeah, you go back and play those games like, oh, no. I tricked myself. I was caught in this fanboy war against Nintendo where I was like, Mario sucks. You can't fucking play Super Mario World and have any delusions that Sonic gets even close to at any point, Tim.
I mean, hey, I'm not going to say it gets close to it, but I would argue that Sonic 3 and 2, 2 and 3 specifically, are great games. 1 has its moments. It also has its issues.
Sure.
But I think as platforming games, they're great. Compared to Mario, absolutely, they're not perfect. But they're great games, and I think that people shit on them a little harder than they need to. A lot of the other stuff, like the adventure games, I don't quite understand the love for those.
Yeah.
Those are definitely fan favorites, and I don't understand what they see in them. They're really bad to me. And then everything post then, it's just like, let's get out of there.
Sonic Boom.
Sonic Generations is fine. I had fun with that one. In terms of the Sonic being popular thing, like I don't think that it'll ever be as popular as he was in the 90s, because it was a different time. Mascots were a thing. Saturday morning cartoons reigned supreme. But I think now in the world of the movies and stuff, like we're seeing with Ratchet and Clank, like with the Sonic movie they announced, is that going to do good? Probably not. Because already I think Ratchet's, what we were talking about earlier, doing the right moves of, it is very much the game being made into a movie. A live action Sonic movie,
No, thank you.
not exactly going to push the needle in terms of kids falling in love with Sonic again. I don't think.
The TV show's popular though, right?
The Sonic TV shows have always been
Yeah.
popular enough. But they're also not, Ninja Turtles.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
huge. You can always tell by toy aisles at like Target, right? Like what's popular. There's not like a giant Sonic the Hedgehog toy aisle.
A lot of Marios out there though.
Even Mario's not that big of a
You see some Marios in there.
Amiibos.
No, not Amiibos.
Sonic is just I don't know. It didn't bring the goods. It's a marketing ploy. Sonic was a marketing ploy, and people fell for it. Mario is objectively better in every way than Sonic, both at the time and ever since then, in terms of pure gameplay, because Mario brought the goods. It was fun to play. It wasn't fast. It wasn't edgy. It was just fun. And Sonic is very much what Genesis was. It was very much Sega's revival of the console. People forget that Genesis launched in 1989. Sonic didn't come out, like, it wasn't a launch game. It was the way for them to revive the console in the West. It was a way for them to compete with the Nintendo, to make Nintendo seem kiddie and irrelevant by using terms like blast processing and all these kinds of things. But really, it didn't mean anything. And Mario won that, Sonic might have won the fight in the Genesis Super Nintendo era in terms of, Sega does with Nintendo and all that kind of shit. But, obviously, Sega lost the war. And that comes from a person who, I don't mind Sega. I have a Genesis and I had a Dreamcast. Like I have no problem with Sega. I just always was bothered by like, what game are you playing to think that this is anywhere near as good or a worthy mascot replacement for the bundled in game you got with Super Nintendo? It always really infuriated me. It's like one of those things that I was like, I don't know. Blake Harris's Console Wars talks a lot about this, and I highly recommend that book because it's all about how Sega revived Genesis using Sonic, and there's a lot of really interesting shit about Sonic in there and who created it and Team Sonic and all that kind of stuff, the studio, and how it's a very Western game. I don't know. I just Sonic, I think Sonic's popularity was almost artificial. Like I don't think that he was ever actually that popular. Like it was a very limited Q score kind of thing as opposed to a very long term, this game sells 10 million copies every time it comes. That's not Mario, And so I think that like it's like going back to 1999 looking at a Q score and Crash Bandicoot's number one. And he was. But you go back and 2 years later and no one cares about Crash anymore. So it's kind of a similar thing. There's no ubiquity with Sonic. It's just people like won't let go.
Yeah. I mean, I think the difference
I don't blame you. I mean, if you
Sonic,
like him.
Sonic is something that even moms would know. If you ask them video game characters, name them. I think Sonic, Pac-Man, Mario, like those are characters that they know. So
I'll give you that.
There's something there. And also the Sonic Advance games were awesome. Those were the closest we got to the original trilogy in the modern era. This one comes from Barry Burton's Beard. I've got absolutely everything I want in my life.
Damn.
Barring one thing.
Oh no.
Will we ever get an HD Parappa the Rappa? Probably not.
I'm surprised that we haven't, but I don't know. I don't know. I think it's more complicated to do one of these games than they thought, and I also think Parappa the Rapper 2 was really bad, and so I think that they got a little gun shy charging $60 for that game and releasing it. It was just like, I was so disappointed in that game.
In the
we got
world
Jam or Lammy, I'm saying we got Jam or Lammy. Well, it's a PS1 classic too, but I'm saying we got a spin-off of it that went in a more rock and roll direction. I think that there's licensing issues with doing a Parappa the game because you either have to have someone writing this shit natively, which is expensive, or you have to license the music, which is expensive. And I don't know that there's an appetite for Parappa the Rapper, which is surprising to me because I think if they were going to do it 2007, 2008, 2009 would have been the right time to do it. I don't know that it's necessarily relevant.
I feel like PlayStation All-Stars was a chance for a lot of people to be like, oh, we like this character and then they did just put out the PS2 classic for Parappa the Rapper, and so it is a possibility. I'm sure they're looking at it in some way. I think you'll get another Parappa the Rapper.
If anything, I think it'd be a digital game.
100%.
I don't.
100%. No.
$6 retail game. Popcorn Shower says, "Hi guys, I want to get Lego Dimensions, but I don't know if it'd keep me entertained in the long term. I've briefly played Lego games in the past, but I never played a Toys to Life game. What do you think someone like me should know before going all in with Lego Dimensions?"
Well, I don't know. Why didn't you said you briefly played the other Lego games. Why just briefly? I need more information as to why you would just play a little bit of those. If you didn't like those, if that gameplay didn't work for you, this isn't going to really revolutionize it. I mean, don't get me wrong, my favorite part of Lego Dimensions is when I put them down on the thing and it's like, all right, let's build stuff, and we sit there and you build with the car or whatever the hell it's going to be, the arcade cabinet, and then go through and play it and the way they mix it up. So if you have a problem with the Lego gameplay, though, that's what Lego Dimensions is. So that would be my main, figure out why you didn't like those games before you move on this one. The reason Lego Dimensions works is that it's fun. It breaks the fourth wall. It has fun with all these different licenses, bringing them together and doing different stuff. And then it is an excuse for you to play with Legos and build Legos and have a purpose for why you're putting together all these Legos and owning all these Legos. That's what I like about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the first ever episode 66 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Greg.
Yes.
This episode's coming out this Friday.
Yeah.
For Patreon users over at patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. It's coming out next week for the youtube.com/kindoffunnygames crowd. For everybody, though, we'll be at PAX East at some point during that time.
Do you know when PAX East is? That's when we'll be there.
Exactly.
Go to kindoffunny.com/PAX East to find out about all of our things we're doing there. We have the Kind of Funny panel on Friday. We have the Kind of Funny party on Saturday. Then a whole bunch of podcasts or panel appearances, a whole bunch of signings at Rooster Teeth, a whole bunch of crazy ass shit's happening.
You're doing a Paxomania thing?
I'm doing Paxomania where I will bury Dan Reichert once and for all.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Fuck Dan Reichert. Yeah. Fuck Giant Bomb.
Everyone.
Dave Lang sucks too.
Fuck everyone.
Dr. Tracksuit, cool. John Drake, a punk ass bitch.
He's a punk ass bitch. It's true.
Aaron and Pope, terrible announcers.
We're talking a lot of shit.
I
We're about
know.
to get shot.
And I'll be fine. I'm
Until
the
next
commissioner.
week, I love you. Leave comments below. Let me know what you want for 69.
Okay. I gotta go.